I'm Heather Poduska, founder of the Brand Star Academy, where I teach entrepreneurs how to be powerful, profitable speakers and create their own celebrity personal brands. Welcome to Thrive, the show where I bring you tips, resources, and people to help you create a more abundant life and business. You're in for high-value content coming to you from industry leaders who are growing their business, making an impact, and rocking their brands. And I'm super excited to have my special guest here today, Leila Laura. Leila is a mind-blowing, gifted energy healer. After experiencing a traumatic and difficult life in her early years, Leila believed that there was another level of success and healing available to her. So at the age of 30, Leila invested in karma healing and awakened her soul self, our soul untouched by woundings from this and or other lives. Leila's soul self is a rare combination of transformational healer and seer, with the ability to see past, present, and future, and that which can't be seen by the eye. Since awakening to her soul self, Leila has advised, coached, and healed countless others to help them find love by differentiating between trauma, drama, or karma, ego versus soul self, disempowered living versus empowered living. So I'm super excited to have Leila here and learn more about karma. Welcome, Leila.
Thank you so much, Heather. It's so nice to be here.
Well, I'm really excited to have you. I'm super excited to learn more about healing and karma. And I think that there's a lot of maybe misconception about what karma is. Can you tell us a little bit, just to start off, so we are all on the same page, about what karma is and karma healing, what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So karma is the totality of all of our experiences in this life, and, you know, if you're open to the possibility of other lives. And so, you know, a lot of times people think of karma, right? So you go to Nordstrom Rack and you go in there and you're trying stuff on, and they have something about like it's bad karma to shoplift, right?
Oh.
And so like a lot of people think of karma as like you do something bad and something bad's going to happen to you. Mm-hmm. And it's really not that, you know, that's a very Christian way of thinking. Karma is more so you experience something, right? So let's say your business fails in another life, or, you know, at some point in this life, it does, you know, you don't make enough money and you go bankrupt or something like that, right? So the energy of, oh, like I'm a failed business owner, that like small thought that starts having more and more energy and momentum as you think it, right? Or it's Valentine's Day, so let's talk about love a little bit. Like, you know, like let's say you're romantically abandoned, and I think we've all had this to a certain degree anyways, where, you know, we fall for someone or we just like someone a lot, and then they just kind of go off in the other direction. And so, you know, maybe it's, you know, I remember when I was in preschool, there was this kid and I just like went up to try and kiss him and he was like, no, and ran away, right? So it could be like that little type of wounding, or it could be, you know, I'm about to get married and they leave you at the altar type of abandonment. And so that energy, all of that creates this momentum, and it creates kind of this magnet that attracts the same thing over and over again. And, you know, and I see it all the time with entrepreneurs. I see it all the time with, you know, individuals who really want love, who have gone to matchmakers, who have done it all, you know, literally spent so much money before they even got to me. It's just like insane. And the thing is that, you know, with coaches and therapists, you know, they're going to teach you how to work around these woundings and, you know, maybe try and control them and control how it looks like in your life.
How would you control a wounding?
Yeah. So for instance, let's say, you know, romantic abandonment, you know, so you'd control that by avoiding like a viable mate. So you'd keep going for someone, and either they'd be someone who's like safe and, you know, but you're just kind of settling. There's no spark there. There's nothing real there. Or it'd be like, you know, just not dating at all, right? There's lots of people who are just kind of like epically single all of the time. And that's a way of avoiding that. Or there's married people who are married and who aren't happy in their marriage, and they just settled because it was safe and they could do all the things they're supposed to do, but not truly what their heart was singing and saying, this is what I really want, right? And so that energy, that magnet, if you try and control it, so like let's say with a dating coach would try and control your behavior and how you act when interacting with someone you're dating, right? So don't be too this, don't be too that. And so basically at the end of the day, they're saying, don't be you, right? But then you date the person, you fall in love and, supposed love, and then they really get to know you and they're like, what? Who are you? Like, I'm not in love with this person.
Yeah.
Right? So, or with your failed business owner, instead you're overly cautious and don't reinvest in your business, reinvest in yourself. You are controlling of everything, don't even take out loans, anything, even though your business needs an upgrade, right? And so that's a way that you can kind of control the wounding and how it's impacting you. And the reality is when everything you do is to avoid something, it's controlling you.
That's a really good point about anything.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. So what I heard you say is that there may be a wound that started earlier in your life, or it might be something that happened
in another life, if you're open to it.
If you're open to it. So what would that look like? So if you were a business owner and 3 lives ago you had a cheese shop in Italy and all the cheese went bad and you had to throw it all away and you lost your business, but now you're living in Boston trying to run a coaching business. How does that show up, and how do you know that?
Yeah. So I mean, first of all, there'd be 2 things. The Dharma would be the gift of being like really knowledgeable with cheese. So you'd really like have a love for cheese and you'd have that lust for cheese, just since we're talking about a cheese shop, and you'd really be into that, or kind of like fine wines and things along that line. But the other part would be, so let's say you have a coaching business, it'd be, I'm just kind of looking at what that energetically would look like, energetically, it'd kind of look like being really safe. So it'd be kind of like, this is what I can handle. And I see this a lot with people, is they think that they can only handle so much. And I think it's really important to be realistic with what you can handle. I personally, like doing my work, I need an obscene amount of sleep, like much more sleep than anyone else I know, and that's okay. That's being realistic. But in my business, just because I need a lot of sleep doesn't mean that I'm going to minimize what I put out as offerings. If I hear to do an offering and my gut says to do an offering, I'm going to do that. But that's having had fears and expectations of my business failing moved out of my system, primary defense of avoiding business failure. So things always kind of happen that kind of obstruct my success, obstruct the clients that are coming in. And there's literally hundreds that go off of that, so it's like, primary hunger to avoid failure, and like every single one is like this little tiny piece. And then like, let's say 5 or 10, and that's like one magnet. And there's so many magnets. So when I look in someone's field and when I'm working with a client, I don't look in people's fields when I'm just walking around, not intentionally. But like when I'm with a client, I'm looking in their field and they're talking about a trauma or wounding or like just this place that they're stuck. And they're like, oh, I want to get to this next level. I start seeing what would seem like a web if you were to think in real life, and it starts being like a web, and I'll just start hearing title after title after title the more their system opens up.
Wow. So titles of karmic blockages.
Karmic blockages, kind of like I just said. So like example, so for instance, when I work with clients, they kind of get, a list after the session, depending on the type of session. Sometimes they'll get a list afterwards, and it's this long list, and it'll say, primary hunger for love and, you know, defenses of avoiding change. That's another one. Like people who have had business failures in another life or romantic failures really avoid change because they want to be in control of their reality as much as possible.
Yeah, that's really, so you see it like a web. Have you always had that talent? Have you always had that ability to see that? Because I've heard some people say, I knew I had this ability, but I never told anybody, or I didn't realize that that's what it was until I was much older. How did that work for you?
Yeah, so I definitely did not realize until I was older. I mean, I knew that I was different, and I knew that I said things that people did not like.
Because you would be like, you could see it and call it out, kind of?
Yeah, I've always been able to. My husband says I'm always putting my finger in people's sore spot. That's his way of putting it. And it's not even intentional because even though I'm not reading people, I'm constantly getting information. So it's kind of a subconscious tick, and sometimes it'll just kind of slip out. And I'm not even conscious that I'm talking about something that is a problem for the person in front of me because I'm just...
Yeah.
It's just coming in and going out.
Yeah, I like the phrase, to me and through me.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So how did it manifest? Like, how did you start to develop this talent? And I know that in the bio I was talking about you had a big life shift. How did that happen? And what made you really decide to delve into this as a business?
Yeah, so, I mean, couple things. I've studied energy work actually for 17 years. So I'm 34 now. I was 17 years old when I started energy work. And that really helped open my sight because, you know, I'd be working with these teachers and they'd ask me to describe what I'd see or felt or sensed, and I'd describe it and they're like, oh yeah, right on, you're a natural. And, you know, and even when I was a little girl, just between, you know, my mom was a total hippie, so she'd bring me to astrology readers and intuitives and everything, and people would always be like, wow, she's crazy psychic, she's gonna be rich when she's older, just so many things, right? And so it was just kind of like people told me stuff, but it wasn't until, so I have chronic Lyme disease, and so, you know, like I got to this point and around 26, 27, where I like finally found out about it. I actually got it when I was 8 and I just didn't know.
I know so many people that have Lyme disease.
Isn't it crazy?
It's wicked.
Yeah.
It's wicked.
It's quite a wild thing. I feel really blessed. You know, I was lucky enough to have had a family friend who was an herbalist who specialized in Lyme's, and he was just like, he's like, Leila, I think you have Lyme's, because at that point I was going to like in and out of mental hospitals because they thought, oh, I was mentally ill.
Wow.
And they'd give me medication thinking, oh, she's bipolar, she's this, she's that. Wow. And all of the medication just made me sicker and sicker.
Wow.
Yeah, it was wild. So, you know, this guy identified I had Lyme's, and then I just started shifting that. And so I was kind of getting better, but not that much. And then I found out about this karma healing guy, John Wyrick. And so I went, and he was another family friend, and I went and I had a session with him. And first session, at that point in my life, I was having daily panic attacks. And, you know, after the first session, I came out, and a couple days later, I stopped having daily panic attacks.
Wow. Were those because of the Lyme disease?
No. Oh. So I think those were actually, so at that point, I was just a year earlier, just started having flashbacks of childhood abuse. And so I think it was that locked up information that was, and all of the feelings and the stress and anxiety. Because, you know, when you're really, really young and things happen to you, you know, a child doesn't know how to process that type of trauma. So, you know, I'm really lucky. Actually, most people who experience the type of trauma I did, you know, end up having a split personality or other things like that.
Wow.
Yeah, so, you know, I had this one therapist, and she was always like, Leila, you're a miracle, you know? And she was like, I have no clue how you are together.
So was finding this training, that thing that kind of turned things around for you? How did that happen?
So, you know, going to that teacher, and then I started learning the work. You know, when he first met me, he knew this person can do this work. And he's had more than a couple handfuls of students, and I'm the first person who ever came in and has completely built a practice myself and everything else. And so it was just like, a lot of people could say, oh, I have this certification, I have this, I have that. And really, it was like I went in, I did this, and it was like I could finally speak my language.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. One of the things I wanted to talk about, because you're a successful entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You're a very successful, we talked about your mom being a hippie and all these different kind of, for some people, I'm sure watching this, they're like, what are they talking about? This love karma, it's very new and different.
Yeah.
It may seem really fringe and like you can't make a lot of money. And I know there are a lot of creatives, artists, healers, all those people out there that have the mentality, that starving artist mentality that I can't make money doing this, nobody values this, but you're actually really successful doing what you do.
Yeah, and that's actually literally a karma. Starving artist, I've literally taken that out of a few creatives, because it's like if you have the primary perception that you need to starve to thrive as an artist, like forget about it. Like, how are you going to thrive if you have that blocking you from allowing abundance?
Did you have that when you...
I had so many things. I had slaves so I could I'd work, and it's just like I never made enough money, and I work very little. First of all, I have a team that backs me because I know I need a lot of support with email and all the technological stuff. So not my thing, right? My gift is spend a bunch of time meditating and, do healing work and all that. But yeah, no, I have a 6-figure business, and it really thrives, and it's built up in 3.5 years. Wow.
So what would you say to other healers, especially healers out there, or creatives who have that starving artist mentality, or they're struggling, or maybe it's not a karma thing, but they just have the mentality of like,
absolutely.
People won't pay for this. What would you say to them?
I think that's bullshit. It really is. It's this mentality of, you can only do as much as you believe you can do. And so thinking that, I can't do this, and letting everybody else's voices get into your head, letting everybody else dictate your reality, that's insane, know, and it's just, the reality is you have to be able to see your dream and go for your dream. And so then how I'm able to differentiate when someone comes to me is, whether or not it's karmic or whether or not it's reality, is have they tried? Have you tried to make it a success, and has it come relatively quickly and easily, right? So my business went from, my first year making 20,000, in profit, and, to 100,000 in 3.5 years. So that's an organic, okay, this is aligned. But if someone comes to me and they've been doing what they're doing for a while, and they're really still struggling at it, that's karmic. If you haven't even tried, if you haven't even put your first step out there and made things happen, that's really when they're in their head.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, that's what they are. They're frozen in fear.
So is it possible, is there a difference between having a karmic block, but say someone's not successful, or they're not as successful as they want to be?
Yeah.
Is it always a karmic block, or could it be that they're maybe not doing the thing they're supposed to be doing?
Oh, that's such a great question.
Because I know a lot of people struggle with that purpose thing.
Yeah.
Am I doing the right thing? Am I following my calling? What is my purpose? And I think there is a lot of internal conflict for people around that.
Yeah, so I think there's two things. A lot of the times it is karmic. I mean, pretty much from what I've seen and experienced with clients time after time is a lot of things is truly karmic or other energy, right? So I don't only do karma work, I do a mixture of modalities because it's what I find the most effective. But, when people aren't taking actions, yes, there is, okay, you're just lazy and you're sitting on the couch and you're just not taking any actions. That's one thing. But most people who I meet, are really driven people, and they're just, it's not that they're not trying.
Right.
It's the factor that they have this piece that keeps dragging their system back or brings in obstructions and chaos that gets in the way of that success. Or for instance, when you talk about the purpose thing, is like the karma of the, purpose and earning money. No, earning money, work and earning money is compartmentalized separate from purpose. Like that is a very popular karma. That is a big karma, and it really makes a big deal. So when people come to me in their business, on paper financially is not, breaking even in, let alone making money. Majority of the time that tells me that they've got, work and earning money is compartmentalized separate from purpose.
So yeah, I think that happens a lot. And in that case, is it a question, when you do the clearing, is it a question of that they find purpose in the work that they are doing, that they how do you decompartmentalize, that they bring those things together, or that they shift?
So they kind of, everything, when you clear karma, it kind of organically just shifts on its own. So you clear it out here, and then what happens is you clear it out in the energy field, and as that clears, it creates space for energy to move through, come through your physical body, and then it actually goes in and rewires your brain, because there's all these energy transmitters that are trying to communicate, but when you have karma magnets sitting in the way, they're blocking that communication.
Yeah. So like I said earlier, this is, for some people, maybe kind of out there. What would you, and we've talked about this before, we talked about this off camera. What would you say to somebody who is like, I don't believe in any of this stuff?
Yeah.
I don't believe in God. What would you say to someone like that?
I mean, I think that's perfectly okay. I think everybody has their own process, and not everybody needs to do that. But for instance, if you're someone who's done therapy, done coaching, done it all, and you're aware that there's some sort of roof that you can't get past, maybe instead of thinking, oh, there's something wrong with me, I really do not like hearing coaches or people say to other people, you're uncoachable, because that's not true.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that a few times, and it's a huge manipulation of others, and it's just mean, and it's not true, because the thing is if someone's not coachable, you're not able to coach them. And a lot of the times, people sit around and they think, oh, there's something so wrong with me. So forget karma, forget everything else. It's like, for people who don't understand energy or aren't comfortable with it, which, half of my clientele are people who came to me and they're like, I don't believe in any of this, but like they want to change so much, and they heard a rumor that this woman can help you.
That's awesome, because I was just going to ask you that question, and I loved your answer around that. I think that's, people have blocks. I mean, if you go to therapy or anything else, people have blocks. That's why they're there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I mean, they want help. They want help.
But when you're tired and it's like there's something else, like this is that something else.
Yeah. So who are your typical clients, and why do they come to you, and what kind of results do they get after they're working with you?
Yeah. So my typical clients, my typical intensive clients, right? Because I have my tribe, and that's a little more broad. Every single person who comes to work with me is driven. So I don't work with anyone, or people don't work with me if they're not driven and want to get to their next level.
Yeah.
That's just a fact, because there's so many internal blocks that an individual will have to work with me if they're not truly driven and like, I'm going to my next level. So driven, especially career is a huge one, love's a huge one, and really getting to that next level. So for instance, I had a woman who came to me who, hadn't had a great date in 7 or 10 years, gorgeous, professionally very successful, all this other stuff. So nothing wrong with her. You look at her and you're like, you're kidding me, you're single.
Yeah.
Like, seriously. and she came, and she's, and so we worked on her love stuff, and she's about to get engaged. And,
wow.
And so that's like one example. Or people, I've worked with very, very successful, very wealthy people, and They wanted to finally move out of their home that they'd had for 20 years with their ex-husband and all this other stuff. And their sons are finally old enough to move on. And they were really just so stuck in doing that. And worked together, and, you know, they found their dream home. They bought their dream home. They ended up being able to buy their dream home for $200,000 under the asking price. And the sellers actually offered them that lower rate.
Wow.
And, you know, and what was it? It was, you know, they tried to get the house. The sellers were like, no, for some reason. They were being really weird. We had one of our sessions, you know, a couple days later, clear the energy, and all of a sudden the next day they get, actually, we'd love to sell you, and we'd love to sell you at this price.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
No, it's amazing. $40,000 raises, you know, $20,000 raises, things like that. So it's, you know, people who already have businesses, entrepreneurs, it's like, you know, they want to get to that next level, and they have this ideal client, and, you know, so we work the energy, and it's layered. That's why I work with people, whether it's for a month or a year, because this stuff is so intricate, and it'll whack-a-mole. So if people only have one session, which I do on rare occasions, you know, that's great, but it's not like when you really intensively work on something and get, like, whether it's a few or a ton of layers done, and that's when it's just like miracles are popping up everywhere.
So when someone comes to work with you and you clear the energy, what does that look like? Like, someone might be listening going, what does she mean clear the energy? Do you feel it? What actually happens to clear it?
Yeah, so I mean, it actually, for most people, it feels like a meditation. Some people, it'll feel, especially if it's doing a full clearing, you know, they'll literally feel sleepy. I had a client who's like, I feel drunk in a great way, you know? So lots of times people will need a nap afterwards, just because it's really gets you into this deep, almost hypnosis. So during a clearing, you know, the person's just sitting there with their hands and relaxed, and they're just closing their eyes, breathing in through their nose and out through their mouth. But we're working such deep levels and such old content, you could say. And it's really amazing to see, you know, sometimes it's people, you know, they're tingling. This one girl, she was like, my hand wouldn't stop twitching for like a whole day. Like, it was the weirdest thing ever. She was just walking around, her hands twitching. And so it's interesting to see everyone has different responses. Sometimes it's just peaceful and relaxed, like at the event I did, and everyone, you know, so I did this event and Heather attended, and, you know, literally a room full of, I don't know, 25 people or something. And after the clearing, I've never seen, you know, a room full of people at a networking event when it's like late and it's past the ending time, and everybody's just sitting there because they're so relaxed.
Well, and also that event was super loud.
Yeah.
So it was even more, it must have been even more powerful to get people to relax because the room was loud. So if people want to work with you, they can do it one-on-one. They can do the tribe, which is sort of like a group experience and a connective experience with more people.
Yeah. And
how do people get in touch with you? Are you online? Are you on social? How do people find you?
Yeah, so Leila at LeilaLaura.com, Leila. And you can also Instagram, Love Karma Expert, and Facebook, Love Karma Expert.
So where do you like to hang out online the most? Are you on Instagram, Facebook?
I don't actually, so I mean, I have a team who does, I'm just being transparent.
You're the goddess, you're the healing goddess.
I have a team who gets my posts going for me. Where I hang out and do videos is in my tribe. So the thing with my tribe is we do a monthly rejuvenation session where we clear out all the yuck we pick up on a day-to-day basis once a month. And then in my tribe, I do a weekly energy report where I talk about what's going on in the energy the week to come, and also kind of hear certain information for different tribe members. So I do everything really close just because I'm so sensitive to energy. It's just a bit much to be all over Facebook.
Yeah, well, even if you're not sensitive to energy,
It's so much.
It's a lot.
Social media is a lot.
It's a lot. So to find out about you, to work with you, to find out about the tribe, LeilaLaura.com.
LeilaLaura.com, yeah.
Leila Laura. That is a tongue twister.
It is a tongue twister.
But it's good. It's easy to read. It's easy to find, and it'll be in the show notes. So thank you so much for being here. But before we go, I always ask, what does it mean to you to thrive?
Oh, thriving is being free of judgment.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right?
Yeah, I just wrote a blog post about that. How it's really hard to create an authentic brand with judgmentalism about anyone else or about yourself. Because you're not free to be authentic.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love that. I've never heard, no one's ever said that before. So I really, that is a sign.
You should do it.
No, it's a sign. I just wrote the blog post for this week. It's all about judgmentalism. So.
There you go.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being here. And I really appreciate your energy and being so willing and vulnerable and open and sharing about this and bringing something to light that people who need it might not have known about before. Like some people are really banging their head against the wall and they've tried a lot of different things and not getting the results that they want. So this is another option, and bringing your beautiful light and energy and all the healing that you do. I just want to thank you and recognize the work that you do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you also for joining us. And as always, until next time, here's to hitting all your high notes. Take care. Bye-bye.